Alright everyone, my name is Candace. I know I'm off screen at the moment, but my name is Candace. I am the owner of the Wasteland Caravan and the Wasteland Rattery, Wasteland Rabbitry. The Wasteland Caravan is just a title that covers all of those, so if I only say one, it's the Rattery and my Rabbitry kind of just thrown in all together. Today I am talking about setups for your rat breedings. I figured that this is the number one thing you should know before you're getting into breeding. Excuse my temperamental bunny over there. This is, we're going to be talking about bin cages, which is what you can kind of see off here. We're going to talk about feeder racks, or just breeder racks. This is what I use for my females when they give birth. It's just easier. I don't have to disrupt them when I go in and to see how many they have or check them. Off screen here, I believe you can't see until I scroll up. You can see the current litter, and then the black blaze that's walking around is the doe for that. The two little ones here that you see running around are from King's litter, the doe that passed recently, and then I have Champagne in here as well. This is just kind of where I keep all my females together. Off corner here I have two males. I have Hocus Pocus, who is the sire of this litter, also the sire of soon to be Champagne's litter. I have a little no-name boy who will be going home soon, along with this little buck here who is almost at the age to be going home. Going straight into these types of racks here, you often see these, they're called rat racks, also feeder racks, as they're often used for large-scale reptile feeders. This one here I have, I'll show you in a second, is a three-layer rack. On top I have my females, and then normally on the bottom too I have where I have my grow-outs. Right now I have a relinquish from an individual who could no longer take care of her rats, as one of them had a seizure and has been acting odd, so I'm keeping an eye on them. I'll probably be using him to show how to do proper euthanasia on a large rat, as it does vary by size, but that is for a different video. Let me just grab my little device here that I'm using to film, and I will show you what this bad boy looks like. Alright, so this one is not built by me. This one is by an individual who used them for his snakes. I got it for a really good price, so that's why I have it, and I don't have another one yet because I have not built one. But they are really simple to build. I'll link a couple videos in the description on how to build these guys, but they're real easy, and I honestly suggest that if you're getting into something larger than just a couple rats, that this is the way to go. Up here in this little tub, this is just kind of a holding tub for the moment. It's not the right size. It is a bit too small. I suggest a larger size for continuous life. You're going to keep them in there for a long amount of time, longer than what these two are in. Hocus Pocus is just in there because this little black one up in the front here is going home in a couple of days, and I don't like having my rats be alone, and Hocus Pocus is really good with baby rats, so he is just gonna chill in there until it's time for him to go, and then he'll go back into this rack system I have here. And back in the corner here, the reason why I love these guys so much and why I keep my current litters on top is so I can just see how they're going. The two older pups here seem to really like cuddling with the babies, so I haven't really cared about moving them. It's always great to have older rats who just don't care about other litters and will do what they're doing right now, which is keeping them warm while Mama's up here investigating and seeing if it's time for dinner, which it is. So talking about basic holding, basic size for your rats, this for me is not my permanent setup. When I'm done breeding my rats, they do go to a different setup, which I'll show later on. It is basically the equivalent, like off-brand version of a double critter nation, and they stay with my mother, my soon-to-be mother-in-law, so right now my fiance's mom, and she takes care of them for us, and they live a really nice life after they go from here and retire. Oh. What are you so excited about, huh? Yeah, you know, it's dinner time for them. So as you can see, they do go through their food frequently, like daily. I keep my babies out in an insulated garage. It is actually warmer in here than it is my house at the moment, when we don't run our heater and stuff like that, which we don't often do. So it's warmer for them out here. The people who live with me have allergies towards them, so I don't have to worry about that. I also don't have to worry about the smell as much, since it is a garage. If I need to air it out, I just open the garage door and it's fine. It stays cooler in my garage than it does in my house during the summer, which is another reason why I keep them out here. I do not suggest it unless you are lucky enough like me who has an insulated garage. During the winter in some places and during the summer in some places like California, I monitor my rats very closely, as heat can be a killer really fast. So something that you're going to have to think about when you're building your enclosures and how you're going to house your rats. Housing my rats for me is easy. If it gets too hot in my garage, and say I'm running the AC in my house, I can honestly just pick up this entire unit right here and move it. Same with my tubs and with my rabbits' cages as well. If I need to move them out of the garage, if it's too hot in here for whatever reason and I can run the AC in my house, I'll put them in my living room and they'll be fine. But during the winter, it's perfect since California winters are mild, but if you live in a place where it snows, I do not suggest keeping your rats outside for any reason, unless you have a heated area where you can monitor their temperature really well. Talking about housing as well, something that you're going to need to start up is your bedding. I use Kinlan pine from Walmart. It's just called pine bedding. It's Kinlan dried. They say it's dust free. It is not dust free. Kinlan dried does not mean it's dust. It's gonna be free from the dust. It is free from the pheromones that it gives off. Well, not pheromones. The scents that it gives off that hurts rats and other animals, and why I would not suggest using any other bedding that is not Kinlan dried. I used to use aspen, but unfortunately one of my female rats was actually allergic to aspen, so we switched over to pine, and I have not had any problems since then. Some breeders do have problems, and some breeders say never use pine. Some pet owners will say never use pine. I have never once had an issue with pine bedding. No respiratory infections, no anything that I've come across that people say, oh, this is what's gonna happen when you keep your rats on pine. As long as it's Kinlan dried, I've had no issues, and that's just me. If you don't feel safe using pine, you can use aspen. Just stay away from fleece beddings and anything like that, as it's really bad, especially for pups, as they can get them tangled. So I honestly just find pine works for me. If it doesn't work for you, that's fine. Find something else that works, but think about your bedding. I go through a bag of I go through 4 cubic feet of pine bedding once, two bag size a month, because I change out my beddings 3 times a week, just because I don't like coming out here and seeing urine soaked bedding. As you can see, my bedding looks extremely fluffy and still fresh. It's because I just cleaned this 2 days ago, so I'm probably going to clean it after I do this video. Speaking of easy access, these guys, bin cages, which is over here in the corner here, they stack, which is really nice if you don't put a mesh on top. This tub is not done. It was kind of just a quick thinking type of thing, because the little black one in here is too small, as I mismeasured. So when I rebuilt this feeder rack, and there's too big of a gap on the bottom 2 levels, and I can't have him in with my females as he is old enough to breed with them. So I normally have 4 openings on each side. Right now he only has 1. It's only been a couple of days, so I'm probably going to be doing that after I finish this video, as I don't like having just a tiny amount of airflow, because that is a big thing. Even though this is honestly fine, they will not have any issues like they would in a tank. But it's just my own personal preference. I like having all 4 cut out, and I like, just so I can say, yeah, he has good airflow, or they have good airflow. But I never do a top on top of my tubs, as I like to be able to stack these when I have them. I normally stack them right next to my rack. Makes it easy to store. These guys down here, back to the rat racks, they are a little bit harder to store as they are decent size. Willow! Sorry, my rabbit's being drama because she wants to come out and play, but I can't play right now, I'm sorry. So that's just one thing to think of mind when you have these. They're probably going to have to be outside somewhere, so because they're a little bit bigger and but they're easier to manage in my opinion than they are the tubs. The tubs are a bit blocky and do take up a lot of space. These are just cement mixer tubs that just slide in and out here really easily. This is just your normal hardware cloth, and then your 2x4s and I think 2x2s for the framework. So real easy to build, like I told you before, just simple and easy to house. The issue is for large scale breeding, they do take up a lot of space. But then again, most animals that you're breeding take up a lot of space. Another nice thing about these guys is they just slide out. The tub comes all the way off. I do have their water bottles like this, so their water bottles do hold like a little barrier. It allows you to just reach in, grab whatever rat you're looking at, and move them around. I always do this so my adopters, when they come out, they can just see what the babies look like when they're out here. These guys have all their fur in, and looks like I got some goodies going on here. This litter was kind of odd for me because her dad was black, obviously. Black rat, black is dominant gene. I'll talk about genes later on. Her mom was a fawn. Her sire, or these babies' sire, was a fawn. It's the Rex in here. She is a Rex as well. And I seem to have gotten some Aragoti little ones in here, but these are the ones that I've been keeping an eye on, as their eyes seem to be ruby eyes, so always interesting when you come in. I don't know if you guys can see this, I don't know how well that's going to focus, but it's just easy to see your babies, see how they're going, make sure everyone's in the nest and doing well. These guys are not as big as I would like them to be, but first time mom, don't know if I'm going to be breeding her again. I'm hoping that I don't have a litter of all boys. As rare as that is, I've had a litter of all boys before. Here's your baby. So we shall see. And it looks like the babies that I thought were blacks are also looking Aragoti, so we'll see what's going on with this litter. I do know I have 2 fawns from this litter, so they'll be used to continue on my line as well. I think that's pretty much it when it comes to my setups and what I wanted to show you. I use tubs and I use a rack system. My retired breeders do go to, like I said before, a off version of a double critter nation, just because my breeders are my pets. I will on occasion sell a couple of my retired breeders. It all depends on whether or not I have room or how attached I was to them. I know Black Bart here will be going to my mother-in-law's when the time comes. Same with Champagne. Champagne's her baby, so that's fine. And same with Hocus Pocus. But I've had a couple where I've only bred once, and I've had people interested in them, and I'm like, you'll probably give a better home than... Well, I'm not saying a better home than I'll give them, but they'll go to a home where they'll be loved by kids and stuff like that and whatnot. So it all depends on how I feel towards the rat and whether or not I really had a connection. I had one rat that I just didn't necessarily, she wasn't my favorite, so I found a wonderful home for her, and that's what happened. But for the most part, I do keep my retired breeders. I'm not saying you have to. It all depends on how much room you have. I know some people who, once their retired breeders hit the certain size, they feed them off, or they cull them and they sell them as feeders. So it all depends on you. It all depends on how much room you have. I'm lucky enough to have a soon-to-be mother-in-law who keeps them and watches them and stuff like that and loves interacting with them. And I just have that ability to slide this back right there, to keep them and being able to visit them and watch them as they grow. And it also just allows me to maintain my lines a little bit better. I'm going to show you how I feed them. I have these little tubs things. When I don't normally feed oxbow, it is highly expensive. just goes in this. This is a, I don't know how big a bag this is. What does it say? I'm sorry, I should have asked. So this is a 20-pound bag. This is a 20-pound bag, it is $50. That is definitely outside of my budget, but the rats love it, so I sometimes get this from adopters. I got these from the two big boys I have down here who, due to one of them having a seizure, getting aggressive towards her kids, and she can't have that around. Like I said, you should never have aggressive rats around. I've been watching him because none of the others in from that litter have showed any sign of sickness. So I'm honestly watching him for the time being to see whether or not if it's just a fluke, if something happened, if it was something that he ate, something like heat or something like that. So he's not aggressive. Like, I can stick my hand in there and pet him and he's perfectly fine, but I'm still, have to be careful as he has bitten and drawn blood on other ones. So again, I'll probably be using him as a example on how to cull larger rats, as he is a full-grown male. He is almost a year old, so he is a very large boy. As my here, I can just pull one of them out and show you. Here's his brother, who's the really sweet one. I don't know if you can see that, but they are big rats. You cannot just do a cervical dislocation with these guys. You have to do a CO2 chamber, which is what I'll show you how to build in one of my later videos, because it is just a great thing to know how to build, because no matter what, you will come up time that you are going to have to euthanize one of your rats. And honestly, if you're getting into breeding, that is something you have to be ready for, and you have to be just okay with. If you're not okay with euthanizing a rat or home euthanasia, then I would not get into breeding at all. I know there's people in the United Kingdom who say otherwise, but I'm going to say this right now. If you are in the UK or if you are in Europe and you breed rats and you say, well, we don't cull our rats, there's a big difference between American rats and European rats. They're all fancy rats. The issue is the line and how long they've been domesticated here. It took a lot longer for fancy rats to become pets in the United States, and our lines still have extreme temperament issues, and a full-grown male rat can easily bite into your hand and bite down to the bone and bite and sever those nerves and stuff like that. And that's not something you want around kids. That's not something you want as something they'll go out and be like, well, this is just how rats are. No, rats are supposed to be sweet. If you saw me messing around with that litter, I'll talk about maternal aggression. As you can see, Black Bart did not care. She was just like, I'm here for the food. I know that it is food time, and I know that I'm gonna get my treats. So I don't care. Oh, you're picking up my baby? Yeah, I don't care. You can have all of them. That's what you want. You domesticated rats should not ever show any aggression when you're going for their babies. A lot of people say, well, they're just trying to protect your babies. That's fine, but domesticated rats, just like any other domestic pet, should look at me, their owner, the one who feeds them, and say, that is not a threat, even for my babies. And anything that does show that, she is going to pass on to her babies. In males, it shows up as hormonal aggression, which is when you see those stories where two males are fighting each other and one of them ends up killing them, that is because the breeder did not cull their lines and didn't release the rat with a bad temperament. And that's again another video that I'll show you at a later date of how to test for temperaments. Sorry, my nose has been running. Pine works great for them, but I am allergic to pine, so if that's not something that you can handle, you're gonna have to find a different bedding. I can handle pine just fine. I'll just go take an allergy medication when I get back into my house, and they'll help me. But yeah, I believe maternal aggression will be the next video that I do, and then I believe I'm going to go into raising a litter, as I do have a litter right now, going into temperament testing once this litter gets old enough, and show you what happens when you have a shitty, just a shitty rat, and what that means, because I am not one who will skirt around saying that there are bad rats, who will be the downfall of your lines if you allow them. because it's not fun having to breed out aggression. So I believe that's it. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below. I will hopefully be able to do a Q&A when I'm not sick or injured, as if you notice I've been kind of standing here stiffly. I've seriously injured my back. But I promised this video would be out yesterday. I apologize. I was way too hurt to deal with that for now. But yeah, if you have any questions, comment, concerns, what I feed, I'll be going over a video of what I feed. That'll probably be third down the line. And any other videos you'd like to see. I will be doing a colors video. I know that's been the most requested one, but I felt like you guys knowing how to properly house your rats would be the best thing to do first, as yeah, colors are fun, but the most important thing is knowing how to house your rats before you actually get your rats, because the last thing you need to do is go, oh, I found these awesome rats, but I don't have a place to house them, so I'm going to throw them into a tank. And that's okay for maybe a day, maybe two, but you need to have this ready. And building something like this can take a day and a half. Building tubs can take a couple of hours, so it's just what you gotta know, what you need to know, how to house them, what to house them. My next video, I'll actually scratch what I said before. My next video will be how to build one of these things. I probably won't be building one, as I think I might actually be able to build one for you guys. I think I have the materials at the moment. And yeah, that's all for now. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you know when my next video is up. I'm hoping to post once a week, maybe twice a week at the beginning. We'll see, we never know. And here's to breeding.